Hello and welcome to Navigating the Chapters of Challenge with Tele. Today I've got my friends in the house with me, Dr. Wale and Dami Olanrimoye, and I'm so excited to have them in the house because they're just one of those couples that I absolutely love, and they know that. I hope they know that. So I'm just going to ask them to introduce themselves. I'm going to ask Dr. Wale to introduce himself, and I'll ask Dami to also introduce herself, and we'll take it from there. So Dr. Wale, say hello to everybody.
Hi everyone, it's an absolute privilege to be here today. It's just a wonderful opportunity. We've known Telly for years, and so this is really exciting to be on her podcast. My name is Wale, and Dami and I do a bit of marriage counseling together, and it's a privilege to have been, invited to come and speak. And I'll stop there and let Dami introduce herself.
So Dami, introduce yourself to everybody.
So I'm Dami. Like Wale said, it's a privilege and an honor to be here to support Sister Telly, and we're so glad for today. And we've been married for over 26 years, and we enjoy talking about marriage.
Absolutely.
Excellent. That was my next question. How long have you been married? So Dami has answered my next question. So how did you meet? Before we go into the topic of marriage and everything, how did you meet? Just out of curiosity. I'm very curious person.
We actually met, we were attending the same university fellowship.
Okay.
So I was in the UCH Christian Fellowship at the time, and Dami came to do her midwifery in UCH. We met then. We didn't know each other initially. Someone introduced us. We just started off as friends, and eventually friendship blossomed into really close friendship, and then romance, and it kicked off from there. So there's probably a very long spiritual story behind that, but that's it in a nutshell.
Exactly.
Dami, is that your recollection of what happened?
Oh yes, it's true. He was already in medical school and was already part of the fellowship. So I finished my nursing, then proceeded to do my midwifery, and joined them in the fellowship. And here's this young little Bible studies teacher, and then we just became very, very good friends.
Yeah.
We had the same vision, so to say. We realized that we both really are passionate about things of God.
Yeah.
At that time, it wasn't really about marriage. It was just about the fact that, I just love somebody that knows the word, and I wanted to grow in my Christian faith, and then we just became very good friends. We used to share the Bible together, and then ask a lot of questions, and then
Here you are, 26 years after.
Whatever happened in between.
Whatever happened in between. And I forgot to mention at the top that Dr. Wale and Dami are the authors of actually 4 books, I think.
5.
I've lost count.
5 in all.
5 in all.
I think we've written 3 together.
Okay.
And then 2 together, and then but 5 books in all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But there's one that stands out for me because my daughter absolutely loves that book, and I think she attended one of the. I think it was a conference or something. You had a workshop you had for young people years ago, and you gave her a copy of that book, and she held that book so dearly to her heart. And the book is called Marriage Lessons: Practical Tips for a Successful Marriage.
Lesson 1.
Yes, so absolutely. They're authors. So at the end of the podcast, I'll put a list of all the books, and you can always go out and check them out. Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about marriage and difficulties in marriage, challenges in marriage. Today's episode is going to be more of a general one, but we'll just let the Holy Spirit lead us as we go along. And the first question I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to ask you one after the other, what is the biggest misconception about marriage?
Oh, that's an interesting question. The biggest misconception about marriage is, in my opinion, is the fact that it's very difficult.
Okay.
It's very tough. It's a labor. It's a struggle. We get married because we have to. Society expects us to get married, so we then get married. but you have to labor through it, endure it, because that's what's expected of you. But actually, marriage is to be enjoyed, not to be endured.
Dami, what about you? What do you think?
Yes, I think I would agree with what Wole has said. It's just the fact that people think marriage doesn't work. Perhaps it's because of the way the society has portrayed it, now. And but what they fail to realize is just that the people who are not getting it right are the ones that are shouting the loudest. Marriage, it's still beautiful and marriage works. So, but then that misconception is what it's underlying in the society to be that it doesn't work. A lot of people are getting out of it. So why am I going to go into it?
Yeah. Why I asked that question is because I heard a quote on one of the podcasts I was listening to this week, and it was a quote by Sarah Jakes Roberts, and she said that the church idolizes marriage, and it doesn't matter if it is good or not. What do you think about that statement?
I can understand where she's coming from, because I have a bit of a bugbear about that.
Okay.
If a marriage is going through a challenging time, as long as the couple are still living in the same house together, many leadership authorities assume that things are okay. But actually, they could just be living as tenants or as co-parents rather than actually having a good marriage. And so we don't have to we're not supposed to wait until somebody's moving out of the house, or we hear that somebody has hit somebody or somebody has slapped somebody before we recognize the fact that there is an issue in the marriage. And that might be what she's alluding to. And sometimes you go to some leaders for counseling, and all they try to do is just keep things going, just stay there, do whatever he wants, do whatever she wants, and just stay there without addressing the fundamental issues that will help the couple get back on track to enjoying their marriage rather than just enduring it and just hanging in there because we're supposed to. So that might be what she's alluding to.
Any thoughts, Dami, on that?
Yes, idolizing marriage. I know that, perhaps those people have a traditional concept and background about marriage. So they believe that, our parents, many of them, not all of them had very good marriage, but they kept it going.
Yes.
So why can't you keep it going? But like Wole said, yes, if it's good to idolize in that sense, to say marriage should be, it should never end. It should be a continual thing. But it's not enough to just wish that it continues. It is very vital and very important that we get to the nitty-gritty to see what are the issues that people are having and encourage them or give them the right support to make it better, because marriage should not be endured. It should be enjoyed. You can imagine if you're married and you're going to live 50 years with this person. So you're going to live a miserable years for 50 life. 50 years.
But that's what some people end up doing.
Yes. So it is wrong in that that sense to say, oh, marriage is good, so just stay there. You must. Yes, it is good. We encourage it and we believe in it, but it must be done properly. So people should be given the right support and foundations to build on.
I guess that's what she was alluding to by saying that it's idolized, whether it's good or bad, because it's like, it's a taboo to have a broken marriage, which we understand, and it's not ideal, yes. But then some people, to avoid that taboo, will stay suffering in the marriage. They're being beaten black and blue, they're being abused, but will stay there because they're idolizing marriage. And what we're saying is, yes, we do believe that marriage should, as much as possible, be embraced, but not at the expense of your life, not the expense of what's happening to you. The better way is actually for them to seek some form of support and counseling, address the issues, and get back to a place where they're enjoying their marriage.
So in your years of mentoring couples, what would you say are the main issues that affect a lot of marriages? What are the issues that you've seen reoccurring in couples that you mentor rather?
I think for us, I think one of the underlying themes that we've seen is that very few couples have problems in their marriage that weren't there at the beginning.
Okay.
Most challenges that you see in marriages were there at the beginning.
At the beginning.
They were either ignored, swept under the carpet, or glossed over, ill-addressed. And when these things came back to bite, that's when people started, getting worried or getting stressed. But actually, those problems were there.
Okay.
So for us, a big thing is preparation, foundation. I think if a couple can be prepared before they go into marriage, properly prepared, if they have the right foundation going to marriage with the right reasons, having the right expectations, having the right understanding about what marriage really is, we will have less trouble today. Marriage has been very romanticized. And so people think about falling in love and falling out of love. And actually, marriage, the real love that sustains a marriage is commitment. That commitment, I will stick with this person through thick and thin, sickness and illness, whatever it is, whatever you're going through, I will be there for you. That is the commitment that sustains the marriage. Other things we build into it. But if that commitment isn't there, and if people think, well, okay, you look good today, so I like you. Well, you don't look so good tomorrow, so actually I don't like you anymore. That would not happen. So I think the right preparation, the right foundation, the right expectations, I think are lacking in a lot of marriages today.
Okay. Dami, you said ill-addressed
issues.
Yeah.
Just
Can you give me a practical example?
So somebody is saying that, okay, when they are maybe going out or dating, we don't use, that's what the society knows now. When they are dating, this person is not very, the way they communicate with them is not right. Maybe they are brushed down, or they are told to keep quiet, or they don't even listen. These things are there, and maybe, let's say, the woman now has noticed it. But you'd be like, oh, maybe it's just that he's tired. It's just that, oh, maybe it's not a good day for him. Maybe it is me that is even causing it. Maybe it's, it's something that they need to sit down and say, why is it that when I speak to you, this is the way you address things? Because that is the pattern. It needed to be addressed. And if she's felt that she hasn't addressed it and is not changing, then it's something to be aware that, can I live with this? Because if this, people don't change. And that is one thing people need. I mean, it's fundamental. People never change. We can improve a bit, but people fundamentally do not change. So if you are talking to me rudely, you don't listen to what I'm saying, you don't consider my opinion, you feel women are less than you, then that is an issue to be addressed.
Why would that be different when they get married?
It's not going to be different. It's not going to be different, because if at that stage that you are still courting, so to say, or dating, where you're supposed to still be, hiding and be full of love and attention for this, whoever it is you're going to marry, you are behaving like this, it's going to be worse when you get married. Because when you're now like yourself, you've won the person over, there's nothing else. Where's she going? So then you just even completely open more. So it is, if those things are not, you'll be surprised what people tell you. There was one case that we had that's it was the other way around. The lady was abusing the man, slapping him before they got married.
Before they got married?
Before they got married. Is it 3 times? He recorded, he reported to us on 3 occasions.
And he still married her?
So things like that. So, and then they got married. Of course, it got worse. He was being beaten and, real thorough beaten. And it could be the other way around too. That it might be the woman now that some people, they will have been slapped once or the other. And then they will still proceed into the marriage without addressing that. They'll be like, oh, I made him hungry, so it was my fault. So things that I needed to be addressed.
But why do you think that's the case? Why do you think that people are being, like this case, a man being abused before marrying a woman? Why do you think he actually went ahead into that marriage? Because I don't understand. I'm trying to understand the reasoning behind it.
Because people get married for different reasons. Okay, so traditionally, those of us who are firm Christians believe that God brings a couple together. But in this day and age, people get married for different reasons. People get married for financial reasons. People get married for immigration reasons. People get married for, trophy wife reasons. Or she looks pretty, and so I want her by my side. That sort of thing. So that's why we talked about foundation. Why are you together? What's drawing you to this person? Why do you feel this is the person for you? And when those questions are not properly answered, when the foundation is shaky, just as the scriptures say, when the foundation, what can the righteous do if the foundation is destroyed? If the foundation is shaky, then the building upon which we're, the marriage upon which we're building on this foundation will also be shaky.
It will be shaky.
And so these are some of the reasons, and that's why we said very rarely have we seen a couple with a marital challenge, that challenge in some way wasn't present before they got married. Very rarely.
So what are the things that couples should be looking out for in terms of the foundation that they're building on? Okay, let's say there's a couple they're dating or courting, whichever word works.
Exactly.
What should they be? What are the trigger points? What should they be looking at and saying, this is a red flag. This is something that I need to work on. This is something. Dami is giving an example, but what other examples can we talk about?
So, when we started doing this whole marriage thing journey, we tried to do a bit of reading and develop ourselves. And some people talk about certain characteristics that a healthy marriage should have.
Okay.
Because essentially the question you're asking is, this is what a healthy marriage should look like.
Yeah.
If you then feel that the person you're partnering with is not going to help you or support you or partner with you in that journey of becoming or having a healthy marriage, then you need to be putting question marks on this. One is commitment.
Okay.
If this person doesn't have a track record of commitment, so for example, many people try to tame men who had been fooling around, for example. And all of a sudden you think, okay, I've got him, he will change. Well, if he wasn't really able to change before marriage, what's going to make him change? Now, that doesn't apply so much to those of us of a Christian background, because obviously that is something that's expected. Fidelity is something that's expected. But for people who are not of faith, if a person was fooling around before marriage and, was always having a different woman every season, what's the guarantee that that's going to change once they get married? So commitment is one. Communication is another. How does this person communicate? Do they only communicate in a particular way for you? How do they treat other people around them?
You.
How do they treat people who are lesser than them? How do they relate with people who are, for example, cleaners or domestic staff? If they treat them disparagingly or don't treat them with respect, then at some point that characteristic is going to come out. How do they settle conflict?
Yeah.
When they're upset, when they're angry, what do they do? How do they behave? They may be very calm most times, but when they get angry, are they biting people's heads off? These are a few things. So I've talked about commitment, communication, conflict, abuse. If they are people who you've noticed are already showing signs of abusing you, emotional abuse, or the way they deal with you financially. There's so many things, that you talk about friendship. One of the things that we believe in is that every couple should have at least a foundation of friendship.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest. I mean, this is an adult thing. We're not going to be spending 24 hours a day having sex.
Oh, definitely not.
There's more.
As you grow older, there's no energy for that anyway.
Exactly. As there's more to marriage than, we're jumping into bed, we're having sex all the time. There's got to be some basis for friendship. There's got to be some basis of relationship. Yeah. And if that isn't there, if we're just together because we look good together, or together because we have children together because we have a business together, at some point, all that's going to fall away. Dami likes to tell the story about very often we sit down and we will just talk for hours. Even this morning, we both planned, we had some certain projects that we're working on individually, and we planned to do that. And we woke up this morning and we just felt like chatting. And before you knew it, it was 12 o'clock? From about 6 o'clock when we woke up, we've just been sharing fellowship, just chatting, just gisting, just catching up. And if you're not good friends, that's not something you can do. So that's just a few things. I mean, I know Dami has some other things that she wants to do, but that's just a few things.
Before Dami goes on, I just wanted to say, just drop this in, because it just made me realize why I like you guys so much. Because yourself and Dami are just like my husband and I. We can talk for hours and then repeating the same thing we've talked about 20 years ago. Yeah. And we also started off as friends. Absolutely. For years. We were friends for almost 4 years before we even started dating. Exactly. So I think that foundation of friendship is really very important. Yeah. Sorry, Dami. I just had to say that.
I would just add that.
that. I mean, in the sense that if you are not even friends, that is a red flag to me, because you should not be proceeding into a relationship with somebody
a lifetime relationship.
Yes.
with somebody that is not your friend. And you hear it these days, they say, "Oh, I can't marry him, he's my friend." That is the person you're supposed
That's
to
the
marry.
person you should marry.
Because you want to wake up, you try to adjust for your friends, you try to support your friend, you try
accommodating for
to
your friends.
accommodate your friend,
Yes.
you don't forget your friend's birthday, you are there for them when they call you. So who should be living the rest of your life with you if not
Your friend. It should be your
Exactly.
friend. You
So-
just hit on it.
Yeah.
You should be married. So if you are in a relationship with somebody and you can see that you're two entities that you don't even look forward to each other, like the only time you meet and you think it's romantic is when we go to the movie together, and then perhaps some people that are not Christian, when they start having sex, they think, "Oh, that's it, we're good, we are compatible." No, you're not. You have not even addressed issues. You're not friends. And then another thing is, see their relationship with somebody said, if you want to see how a man will treat you, look at his relationship with any women figure in his life, his mom, his sister, his, another friend. See the way they treat
them.
them. That will tell you that that's going to be you sometimes, in the future. Likewise, the woman, look at how she behave around people, treat people with respect. That is the way that woman will treat you as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't look at some of these factors. Look at their relationship with money. When you talk about things, when you talk about the future, how do you know where they work? Do you know how much they earn? Do you know things like that? So look at the relationship with money, because money is as well an important factor in every relationship. So if you start seeing that they're my money, I don't have money all the time. These are red flags. Be careful about. They are always asking you to borrow them your money or use their own money to do things while they will give you back and never did. Red flags.
Red flags.
Something else I also want to add. We're all different.
Yeah.
And we all have different requirements in marriage. If this person you're partnering with makes you uncomfortable in an area which is your own personal requirement, then think about it.
Yeah.
It may not be a reason to not proceed with the relationship, but you need to make your peace with it. Because one of the things that we normally tell young couples to ask is, if this person never changed, if this person stayed as they are, would I still be happy? Because another thing is, a lot of people go into marriage thinking, "Oh, I don't like that about him, but I'll change him. I don't like that about her, but I'll change him."
anybody.
You can't change anyone. You can't change anyone. So if they stayed as they are, would I be comfortable with that? And if you think, actually, I cannot stand that thing in his life, or I cannot stand that thing in her life, and if they don't change, I wouldn't be happy, then you should question whether or not you should be progressing into marriage.
Yeah. You said something earlier about emotional, if there's like some kind of emotional abuse, and I want to touch on that, because I think this is an area that a lot of people don't seem to. They can't identify it. A lot of people are not able to identify emotional abuse in a relationship. Can you talk on that a bit, and how people can identify that this is not right? This is a form of emotional abuse, and maybe I should be reconsidering this relationship.
How does this person make you feel? Do you feel loved, or do you feel threatened, or do you feel harassed? Do you feel abused? If you're with someone who doesn't make you feel loved, then you need to ask the question, well, why am I here? Because we're looking at this for the long haul. And a lot of people conflict certain things. So a lot of people don't want to be they don't want to be alone. And because they don't want to feel lonely, as a result of that, they just attach themselves to a relationship. But in that relationship, they don't feel loved, they don't feel valued, they don't feel encouraged. Why are you there? And all those are mini signs of abuse. Because if a person isn't showing you love, if you're feeling each time you're with this person, you come away from them feeling like you have to recover, or you come away from them feeling like you need to sort yourself out, or you need to readjust your headspace, then living with them or living a lifetime with them will take an energy of you having to recover and sort yourself out. Those are red flags that you need to think about. So I think emotional abuse can be very subtle.
Yeah.
The way you're spoken to, the way you're treated, the way you're made to feel. You should be made to feel valued. You should be made to feel encouraged. You should be made. You should think about this person and think how this person adds to my life. I think somebody once said something. If your spouse has not improved or has not developed in most areas of their life since they've been with you, then you've not done a good job.
Yeah.
And I think, in a sense, if you're not adding to someone, you're probably taking away from them. So if you don't feel that this spouse of yours or this relationship of yours is adding to you, then question it.
Question it. Those are signs of abuse in whatever form. When you feel that you are always made to feel that you are always wrong. It is you that have to change. There's something about you. There's something, maybe, they might say, it's the way you communicate. That is the reason why I do what I do. You made me do this.
Yeah.
They don't take responsibility for their actions. They blame it on you. Those are signs of abuse, and you need to start watching out for them.
Yes. Or if they make you feel like you're incompetent, everything you do is wrong.
Absolutely.
And they are always right. So that, I think those are because a lot of people overlook these things, and I think one of you has said it, that if you think they're going to change, they're not going to change, because if it's a fundamental flaw, it's not going to change. That's who they are. That's who they are. Okay, so I wanted us to move on to specifics in specific issues in marriage that could be problematic. So I had a question here. So how do you deal with a spouse who is constantly irritating you? I won't change. Give me practical tips on how you would deal if your spouse is constantly doing something that irritates the life out of you. You love the person, but...
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Again, remember, we're all different.
Yeah.
And one of the things we like to say is that no one will be 100% exactly what
Perfect.
you want.
Yes.
If everyone was like that, then you'd probably be getting somebody who's exactly like you, and actually you will probably irritate yourself if you're with yourself all the time.
All the time, yeah.
But if it's something that's really getting to you, have a conversation about it. And one of the other things we like to say is it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's how you bring up the topic, and help the person to see that, look, it's not that necessarily what you're doing is wrong or what you're doing is bad, but this is just how it affects me. So we're reaching a stage in life where Dami likes the fan on all the time.
Oh, tell me about that.
And, I'm here hugging the duvet. And she's got the fan on because she's got this internal generator that's generating heat, And on the one hand, I could feel irritated, but that's where understanding comes in. We've got to learn to put ourselves in other people's positions and other people's situations, especially our spouse. And so have a conversation. So we've had a conversation, and so there's the way the fan is angled, so that it blows more in one direction rather than the other direction. Little things like that can make a big difference. I think have the conversation, try to see the other person's perspective, understand why they do what they do. It might be their background, they've always done that, that's how they grew up, that's what they know. No one has ever pointed it out before. You're the first person to say this is wrong or I don't like this, and as far as they know, well, you're the wrong person. So it's a case of, okay, fine, if this gets to you that much, because of how much I love you, let's try and find other ways we can do this, or other ways we can adjust, and as a result of that, make sure that we keep the love going. So that's sort of the fundamental principle, but I think the different specifics will determine what it is. But fundamentally, it's a case of both of you sitting down, having a conversation, identifying what the real issue is. So, when we talk about conflict resolution, we talk about what we call the 5 S's.
Okay.
We talk about, stop. So let's all stop first. What's causing this irritation, or why are we having this irritation? Let's find the right time to have this conversation. Let's understand exactly what's going on. Then we talk about shine. Let's shine the light. Why is this issue causing an issue? Why do you feel irritated by this issue? Why do I feel this is something I have to keep on doing? Then let's sit down, let's have a conversation. It's not about pointing out who's wrong. It's not about blame. It's about trying to understand the other person's perspective, and as a team trying to work out what the best solution is. Then we talk about smooth, which is all about, I might have hurt you, maybe in the way I have maybe disregarded what you've said, or in the way I haven't considered your feelings. So there needs to be forgiveness and understanding and appreciation. And then we start again. Let's put a plan into motion, adjust the fan, point it in a particular direction. Let's see if that works for both of us. If not, then we might need to angle the fan a little bit more, or we might need to have this conversation again. Yeah. But it's about both of us understanding. So usually we use that. We use that ourselves on a regular basis. We teach that to people, and that usually helps us and helps people work through whatever source of conflict or irritation might be arising.
I've never heard that before, but I really like that.
So stop, shine, sit, smooth, and start.
Yeah.
Start afresh.
Start afresh.
Wipe the slate clean, start afresh. Let's implement things. Let's do what we need to do. And we can always go through the cycle again.
Okay. Whoa. That's that for me, that's an eye opener, and I'm gonna implement that in my marriage. Dami, anything else you wanted to add on that one?
I think he said
everything,
most of the things, but it's just to stress that you cannot escape marriage without understanding how to communicate. Communication is like a blood supply to your marriage. If it is broken, the marriage will have issues. Just like we see in the body, if there is shortage of blood supply to the brain, the person will have a stroke. If there's a shortage of blood supply to the heart, or a blockage of it, the person will have a heart attack. And the same if it goes to any part of the body, that part of the body will suffer and start to die. So we cannot escape sitting down and discussing things. But the most important factor also in communication is not what you say. It is how you say it. Because if your spouse feels that all the time you talk to me, you say it rudely, you don't consider it, they will not listen.
Yeah, that's true.
And that thing will continue to perpetuate itself. You can't reach them because they will put a wall.
Yeah.
Even if they don't answer you when you talk, there's a wall. If they talk to you and shout back, there's a wall as well. So it's important to learn, and each individual's pulse is unique to them. I always say to women, learn your husband. Study your husband. Know what you can say.
And vice versa.
And your wife too. Know how to talk to them. Because the way I would talk to Wale, probably different way you talk to your husband. Yeah. I know what to say and how to say that he will listen.
And when to say it.
And when to say it.
Yeah, when is important as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you feel, it's fine. I'll just say it. That is what is on my mind. Then you're not going to get to him.
No.
You're going to continue to struggle.
Yeah.
So it is important that is taken
something
care.
else you like sharing, sweetheart, about dying to self. Do you want to just say something about that? That's really important.
And I think sometimes the way we navigate marriage is wrong. Because if your husband keeps doing something over and over, sometimes you might just die to that thing. Accept. Acceptance is also very, very important. Because if you don't accept, it might be something that they cannot change.
Okay.
That is who they are.
Okay.
So you just have to accept, because you are not perfect too. You are not perfect too, because there'll be something that they too have identified.
Yes.
That may be like, I wish you could change that. It's something that is like me. I mean, Wale doesn't like to talk much. I talk.
Okay.
So if he's telling me, tell me, you know what, I want you to reduce the way you talk. When we're together, you talk a lot. But it's him I talk to. So it's going to be challenging, because I'm like,
why don't ask that of you, honey?
I'm just saying, there are other things.
That would be impossible for you.
Exactly. You cannot change that. You cannot change
That's
that.
who she is.
That's
And
who
you
you
too. I mean, I remember there was a time I used to say, talk. And then after a while, I'll say a few things. Maybe if I'll be talking for about 5-10 minutes, I'll say, okay, I've been talking a while now. Okay, well, he says something like, no, but I just like listening to your voice. I said, no.
It's your turn to talk.
But after I just realized that, you know what?
That's just who he is.
That's just who he is.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving, that's a positive example, but there might be something that is really annoying you. It might be that, they drop their clothes all the time on the floor. And you're like, can you just pick up your clothes after you? Can you just pick up your clothes? And they're not doing it. It might be just, that is, they will never, like somebody said, this same man you marry, his mother for maybe you got married to him at 27. He was 27 when you got married to him,
30.
or 30, and he's been throwing his clothes on the
For so
floor
long.
3 decades.
for 3 decades, and his mother could not change him, and he loves his mother. And you think you coming from where?
2 days after you want to change him,
You
ain't gonna work.
accept it and say, you know what, God, I thank you. This is it. I'm going to.
Provided it's not a major thing.
Yeah, I was
obviously.
gonna say
So,
that.
you know, we don't want to give the impression that you have to accept
Yeah.
Every
we've-
negative
and I'm
thing.
happy
No.
we've talked about things like abuse
Yes,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. So that's not to be accepted. That
Right.
needs to be dealt with.
Dealt with.
Provided it's not a major thing. But there's some things like, oh, it irritates me because he presses the toothpaste in the middle, or it irritates me because he forgets to close the toilet. And yes, those can be irritating, but they're not major.
they're not
significant
life-changing things.
Exactly. And if this person is ticking all your boxes in so many other ways,
Yeah.
and the only fault he has is that he's pressing the toothpaste, accept that.
Yeah, accept that and just move on.
And move on.
move on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah, you're
Yes,
not perfect
yes.
as well.
Yes, none of us is perfect. Okay, so what if the spark in the marriage has gone out and there's burnout in the marriage? How do you address that? How do couples address that?
That's
You know, because when you're getting married, you're excited. This honeymoon stage, the first few years and everything. And then as the children come in, commitment of work and all of that, there's a bit of a,
a lull.
that's the word. How do you deal with that? How should couples deal with that?
Go back to what you used to do before.
Yes.
Okay.
You start. Kick off.
Yeah, go back to what you used to. What were you doing
When there was a spark.
when there was a spark?
Okay.
Revisit it.
Okay.
Never go back to it. If maybe before you used to sit down together and chat after maybe every evening you have dinner together, but now we need to go to school, we need to pick this one, we need to pick that one, lesson this, da 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 da. Find time to reconnect again. Find time to reconnect again. Maybe you used to take time, maybe every one weekend in a month, and you do something together as a couple. Maybe you take a stroll or do whatever it is you do. Find time to do those things again. Whatever it is in your own case, make sure you revisit it. That's the way I would say.
No, carry on. I think there was just something that was.
Okay.
I was
Oh,
trying to-
okay.
Please carry on. Yeah.
No, I finished. You
Okay.
can.
So yes, essentially, like what Dami said, there were certain things that you were doing when there was a spark. So what were those things? Taking walks together, and they don't have to be expensive things. Taking
Yeah.
walks together.
Yeah.
I remember
together.
we were watching an episode of. Sometimes we watch all this Love Is Blind just to see how people
Oh God, I
think
watch
about
that.
relationships.
I watch that all the
Yeah.
time.
And I think there was one particular couple that, in order to recreate their spark, they were having to take things like helicopter rides and do
Yeah.
picnics, and I was thinking, if you have to do such big things to maintain a small spark in your relationship, there's no mileage in that relationship.
No.
Obviously, they split up. And it's about, this is where friendship comes in, because friends can just sit down together
And chat.
And just chat.
do
About mundane
very little.
things.
Exactly, and that retains the connection.
Yeah.
But like Dami said, it's going back to doing those things that created the spark. You're spending time together, and one of the things that we do recommend is having a daily catch up.
Daily catch up.
On a daily basis. Have just some time. It might be first thing in the morning. It might be
When you come back from work.
when you come back from work.
Or
Just a daily
during
catch
a
up.
break.
Or during break.
5 minutes.
Till, by God's grace, till today, we've been doing this for, probably decades now.
Yes.
Every lunchtime we catch up.
Okay.
It might be 1 minute, it might be 10 minutes.
Okay.
We might be talking until somebody knocks on my door and says, "Oh, doctor," and I was like, "Okay, sweetheart, I've got to go now." But we do that, and that's in addition to the fact that we chat in the morning, and in addition to the fact that we're still going to chat plenty at night. But we just keep in contact during the day as
We
well.
know what is happening in each other's life.
Now, so it's about maintaining that daily contact. It's about also having what we also call a weekly date night.
Okay.
On a regular basis, having some time to just be away and connect. And now you don't have to always go to the cinema. It could be a case of putting the kids to bed, and this is mommy and daddy's time. Once a week, where we're with each other. We're not doing anything with anybody else. Phones are off. It's just us. And we also recommend, as much as possible, having a time when you have a chat about how are things in our relationship. What do we need to do different? What can we do better? But also, keeping the spark means making time for sex. That's also very important. A lot of people, they get tired, they get stressed, and sex slips away. At a point in time in our lives, we had to work sex into the diary.
Yeah.
So I used to look forward to Tuesdays.
Thank God it's Tuesday, not thank God it's Friday.
I used to look forward to Tuesdays.
Tuesday
It was Tuesday and Fridays.
Oh, wow.
Thank God. It's like, because we felt it was important.
So busy.
Because life was so busy. Dami was doing training, I was doing training. There were young children. It was very easy to just let all that slip by. And without putting specific connection points in place, that connection was going. And obviously the weaker the connection, the less the relationship. Before you know it, you start snapping at each other, you get upset with each other, and things just spiral out of control.
There was a time we even put it that we'll be having shower together.
Okay.
Every single morning.
Okay.
Because at that time, Wole was so busy with his training. I was doing training. The girls were young, from one thing to the other. By the time it's evening, everybody just want to go to
bed.
hit the bed.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what? By the time I come back, I can't even open my mouth to talk to you. And you are already snoring anyway. So you know what? Every morning, I remember then, if whoever gets up and says, get up, we need to shower. And I'm like, I don't want to shower. No. We need to go now. Even in the days that I'm not working, we'll shower together. Because when we're there, we're able to talk.
Yeah.
We could talk.
You could
say,
talk.
how was your day? Okay. Do my back. Okay, do my leg. Do this. And then we're chatting at the same time. And then as we're dressing up, we're chatting. Okay, have a lovely day, and then go. And then we know that we had connected in the morning. It was that significant to us because we knew we it was one of those times that we had, is it monthly of checkup? And we just said, look, we've not had time for each other for so long. It looked like years for us, even though it's just a few weeks. We were like, this is terrible. So that was what we sat down to do, that we need to put this down. And we did that.
And it was different for different couples.
Yeah, whatever it is.
But whatever it is, find something that connects you, that both of you agree to. And at that time, showering every morning together was our connecting point. Working sex into the diary. And I've heard people say, well, that's not very romantic. It's a connecting point.
After I become romantic.
It does. You're looking forward to it. You know that, okay, fine, we clear the schedule. Somebody's booking a meeting. No, not available.
On Tuesday.
Not available on Tuesday. On Friday.
No way.
I'm sorry.
Forget that. Not happening.
No. But this person wants to see you. Tough.
Exactly.
Because that was our connecting point.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you have to fight for your marriage. And it's not just about fighting for a marriage when there are problems.
Yeah.
It's about fighting to also keep your marriage at a good level.
Yeah.
And those are some of the things that help to keep the spark in the marriage. Yeah. And so going back to what you were doing before, making sure you have connecting points, putting things in place that you need to do, putting things in the diary, date nights in the diary, sex in the diary, spending time together in the diary, that sort of forces your marriage to still operate in the way it should, rather than allowing things to slip
and
away.
when we say dates, it doesn't have to be something expensive.
Yeah.
You know, I can count how many times, we naturally don't really like eating out so much. At some point, we were doing it maybe once a month or something like that. But sometimes it's just about, even when the girls were young, put them to bed. Okay, everybody goes to bed, 8 p.m. was their bedtime. Once they've gone, we know that today is Tuesday, so we'll sit down, we eat together, we talk. And then, of course, whatever then happens after.
The build-up.
Yeah, the build-up, It starts early in the day, you know.
Exactly. So it's something like that. We could even do anything together. So people shouldn't think, oh, this date night, we can't afford it. We don't have childcare. We don't have support. You can make it within your own house. The most important is that connection.
Being together.
Yeah.
Connection.
Yeah, I think what you guys are talking about is being intentional about
Absolutely.
it, being very intentional about it. And what you said also resonates with me as well, because with us, when the children were young, we made sure every day they were in bed by 8. And we didn't care whether they were screaming or crying. 8 o'clock, you're in bed. And that was because we needed to have time to just sit down and just chat.
Yeah.
You know, just unwind.
Connect. Yeah.
We also we're not big on going to the cinema. Or we don't even do any date night. We don't have date night in our diary.
Yeah.
But we sit down and watch movies together. Good. We like to watch soppy movies together.
Why not? Whatever connects
we love that. We just sit down, we just talk about it, we laugh and chat, you know, and just have fun. But that's what works for us, and exactly like what you guys said. Find what works for you, you know, as a couple, and then do those things and just connect. Whatever makes you connect.
Yeah. So the thing to do is make sure you're doing something, like you said, being intentional.
Yeah.
The wrong thing to do is just allow life to happen to you.
Yeah.
Or waiting for the big.
Yeah.
Or when we have time.
Yeah,
Or when we have
time.
money. Yeah.
Or when we go on holiday.
Exactly.
It's going on holiday is nice, but it's not it's not everyday
too
life.
infrequent
Yes.
to be the answer
To be
to
the
your
answer.
connecting in marriage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
Okay, we're slowly coming to the end of the show because, but I want us to talk on something that's very, very important, and I think Dami mentioned it earlier: finances and marriage. This is one big area, massive, and I probably, hopefully, we can talk about it again at another time and maybe focus on that. You know, but if we could just talk about that, how should couples be managing their finances because it causes a lot of issues in marriage.
Yeah. You want me to go? Okay.
Start.
We believe, okay, and we used to be apologetic about what we're going to say next,
Yeah.
but we believe in joint account
Okay.
or joint accountability.
Okay.
One of the two,
Okay.
or both.
Okay.
Okay. At the very least, joint accountability, but preferably a joint account. Now, why? Because of how important money is, we believe that agreeing on financial decisions, agreeing on how you spend your money, agreeing on what you do with your money will form a very big part of how you connect as a couple. We hear too many stories of people who don't know how much their spouses earn, or people borrowing money behind their spouses, or buying things that their spouses are not aware of. And that just shows a disconnect, you know. And you know, if you have a joint account, it's very difficult to spend money that your spouse doesn't know of. And we know that some people, you know, don't have joint accounts, and that's fine. But we say have a joint accountability. So even if you have different accounts, each one of you knows what is going in and going out of the other person's account.
Yeah.
It's easier if it's a joint account, but at least there should be joint accountability. That's how we see things. If you are one, as we're supposed to be in marriage, then you should discuss everything.
Yeah.
And money is a big part of everything that we deal with in this day and age. So that's it in summary.
Yeah.
There'll be lots of angles to it. Or what if I can't trust my spouse? Or what if I can't trust them with money? I mean, the big question I'd have liked to ask is, well, why did you get married to somebody you can't trust with money?
But
You
people
know?
change.
People change. People,
Well, okay. Yeah, we've addressed that. People.
people.
That might
may
have
have been
been
signs.
telltale
Yes, so
signs.
there might have been,
signs.
there would have been
There
telltale
would have been
signs. There would have been
signs.
telltale signs because very rarely would you see somebody who was completely open with their finances
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're not. You know, there would have been signs. And yes, you're right. People, if circumstances change, and for example, somebody who used to be open isn't anymore, and then I would understand why steps would be taken to sort of protect themselves.
Yeah.
But actually, the better thing would have been to address the fundamental issues.
Yeah.
Why has
Why?
there been a change?
That's
What
the
is
big
going
change.
on? How can we come back on track?
Yeah.
And when Dami came to join me in the UK, you know, we got married in Nigeria, came over here. I came over here, I think, for about 6 months, and then Dami came to join me. One of the first things we did was I walked her into the bank that I walked and just added her to the account. I didn't think of her opening her own account. She didn't think of opening her own account. It was a case of adding her to and it's the same account that we've had since then. We've opened other accounts since, but that's still our main account.
Okay.
That's we prefer to be open. Now, does that mean we do everything exactly the same way? Well, somebody spends more money than the other. I'm not looking your direction, sweetheart, but
Every marriage has one of those.
absolutely. But it's about coming to a place where we have that agreement, that unity. And one of the things that we agreed on many years ago is that there will be no major purchases made without us agreeing on it.
Yeah.
We both have allowances that we can spend without necessarily discussing with the other person, but any major purchases, we always have to agree on that. And that's one of the ways we have managed our finances. If we have to agree on everything, whoever is more likely to spend too much will be reined in by the person not spending at all. And whoever is the stingy one will be supported by the person who is more comfortable with spending money. So it's about working together because we both bring different things to the relationship.
Yeah.
If there are issues with dishonesty, now that's very difficult to manage.
Yeah.
as Christians, we shouldn't be dishonest, full stop. But if the issues with dishonesty, then that needs to be managed on its own. Why is there dishonesty? Why are you not holding dear to your Christian values? If there are issues with trying to do things behind your spouse's back, then that reflects to me a bigger issue in the marriage. Yeah. So lots of things. I don't know if you want to
think if there is money issue, I think it will always be fundamentally due to trust issues.
Yeah.
If you have to trace it back, that is number one thing I want to say in addition to what you have said. So it's either that somebody is not trusting the other person and that is why they're holding back, or the other person that is not opening up is also, have issues with trust, So it is important that couples address that. That's number one. And number two, if couples goes into a marriage, knowing that the money is our money, it will also help. So that it helps whoever spends too much or whoever doesn't spend enough, because then you know that it is our money.
It's not mine.
It is not mine. It's not yours. Yeah, it is ours. And that is it kind of makes you very, very open, because they say your money is your life.
Yeah.
It makes you very, very open because you want to protect your life.
Yeah.
Women love security, and and at the same time, men love that the woman they are partnering with can be trusted as well, that you will not blow it unnecessarily. So it is important. So money issue is a fundamental issue that needs to be addressed in relation to trust as well.
That's true. I like what you said about joint accountability, because it's not every couple that can do joint account or want to do joint account or have a joint account. For instance, we don't have a joint account. We've been married 32 years now. But the reason why we didn't have a joint account and for us is because I'm spontaneous. I'm a very spontaneous person. I just like I see something, I like it, I'm going to buy it. But my husband is different. He's going to go online, he will check the price here, he will check that site.
That's
he will
me.
go and for me, that is a bit boring,
Just buy this thing and let's go.
Buy it and let's go. When it comes to big items, like you said, well, of course we talk about it, we discuss it. But when it comes to just little things, I'm very spontaneous. So when we were dating, we realized that it was causing friction. And so from that point, we agreed that we wouldn't have joint accounts, but I know exactly how much he earns. I know all his card details, and the same way he knows everything. So that what you said about joint accountability, I absolutely love that, because there'll be people out there thinking, we don't do joint accounts, so maybe our marriage is not working.
No.
We can't do joint account. No, that's not the case. If there's joint accountability, it's good.
Yeah.
As long as you're able to, it works for you and make it work for you.
Yeah.
And I really love what you just said.
You need to know how much each other is owing, how much each other is earning, what is coming into the family pot, and what is going out, and we can both be accountable for it.
Yes.
How can you
all
plan
that
for the future if you only know half the story? You need to know the full picture so that we can plan appropriately.
Okay, another big one, and we're just gonna go through it quickly. Forgiveness in marriage, and from the point of infidelity. If there's been infidelity in a marriage, do you think it's possible to forgive? I know this is a big, massive issue. We're just gonna go.
Throws it in right at the end.
Right at the end. We've gone over our time anyway, so it doesn't matter. Let's keep going.
It's possible. It's possible. Not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy at all, but it is possible.
Yeah.
They'll need support. They'll need counseling. It's not something we would recommend that they try to. I mean, they can navigate it on their own if they're able to have the open conversations.
Yeah.
What happened? Why did it happen? Where did things go wrong? Something must have left a gap, especially if we're talking about a Christian relationship. Something must have created an opening.
Yeah.
Something must have resulted in it.
Yeah.
There needs to be, a breakdown, a full analysis. There'll need to be copious forgiveness. The wronged party, and let's not always assume
that it's the
man that's been unfaithful, because we've seen it both ways. But the wronged party will need to forgive. If they want, it will be difficult not to forgive and stay in the relationship. The wronged party, and you know, there's so many aspects. Is there remorse? You know, was this, you know, brazen? You know, was this was there a blasé attitude to it? Was it just the fact of, well, I did it and I don't care? If it was remorseful, you know, I didn't really plan this, it just happened, I didn't mean it, you know, I'm really sorry. If there is remorse, then it makes it easier to manage. What I would say, and I don't think this is controversial, whether or not, irrespective of whatever happens, I think the wronged party needs to forgive. And the reason you forgive is you forgive first for yourself. Because the Bible says we should forgive. So you forgive. Now, the big decision as to whether that relationship goes on will depend on whether or not there's remorse. Are they still willing to work together? You know, are they still able to work things out? Are they able to do a proper analysis of what led to it? How can we be sure it won't happen again? It's a really big thing. It's a really big thing. But the direct answer to your question, is it possible? It is possible, but it will take a lot of work, a lot of rebuilding to get them back to that place where the marriage is healthy again.
And you did say something about going back to finding out what cost it, what could have, where did the opening come in? Because I was listening to something, I think it was this morning as well, and the lady was saying that she was actually the one who caused it, in the sense that she was the one that was unfaithful, but she felt that she caused it because she ignored her husband. She was busy, and it was all about her children. She said she was focusing on my children, and I'm busy. And so the man began to feel lonely and unloved. And a Christian man. And as somebody else was giving him attention outside.
And it happened. I mean, I must say, from the Christian point of view, there isn't... I don't want to excuse.
No, that's not an excuse.
So we don't want to excuse unfaithfulness, but it's important to drill back as to what led to it. Because if that isn't corrected, it could happen again. But actually, why wait for it to get to that point? If we find out that our marriage is not in a state of health, we should be doing something about it, because we want to prevent a breakdown. And I think too many people leave things onto a very late stage. And it's almost like, you know, if a person's been having tummy ache and you just wait until the tummy ache is almost killing you before you seek help. No, once you've had a tummy ache for a couple of days, you know, you've taken some painkillers, it's not helping, you need to seek medical advice. Likewise, if you see that there are issues in the marriage, then it needs to be dealt with. And this is where it's very important to mention at this point, every couple ideally should have another couple that they feel accountable to. A couple that you can say, look, something's not right, we need support. Because if a couple feel alone and you've tried to address things with your spouse is, oh, I'm really busy, you know, the children are important, and that person feels left alone, that's when the devil opens the door and some other person starts showing them attention, and before you know it, things have happened. So it's very important that there's a measure of accountability with other couples that they respect and honor, who they can say, look, you know, the devil is knocking on my door, and something needs to happen.
Wow. Ooh, thank you so much. I don't want to end this because
time's gone so fast.
I can't believe we've almost spent an hour on this. But before we end, I always like to end my podcast on a note of hope. And so on the note of hope, I just wanted you to give us 2 lessons each that you've learned about marriage, and what you would like to say to the audience listening about marriage, what they can do to help their marriages. 2 lessons each.
Okay.
And
shall I start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably repeat what you've said.
She said 2 lessons each. I think the first lesson is mindset. Marriage is to be enjoyed. And so if you're not enjoying marriage, find out why and do something about it.
Okay.
I think if everyone looked at their marriage from that point of view, I don't feel I'm enjoying my marriage. The answer is not running away or running or bailing out. The answer is looking into why you're not enjoying the marriage and doing something about it. So I think a change in mindset, I think, would be very, very useful. And the other thing is, you know, go back to doing what you used to do when things were good. If you look back at a time, and if things were never good, then I wonder what happened. How did you get married?
Yeah.
But for most couples, there was a time when things were good. What were you doing then? And if you can bring that back, you can recreate that. We were spending more time together, we were having fun together, if you can recreate that, then most couples, I think, would find that, things will get back on track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to look at it from a spiritual perspective.
I knew you'd do that. That was what
And that would be that you need to die to yourself.
Yeah.
Marriage is, you need to be less self-centered, self-absorbed, because it's not always about you.
Yes.
These are two people coming together. So sometimes when you hold on to things for so long and you don't want to change or bend, it can affect your marriage.
Yeah.
So it's important to look inward. I'll give an example. I remember where I learned that from was when I first listened to Joyce Meyer many, many years ago. I think maybe 20 years ago now. And she said that she used to go to God and say, oh, God, change Dave, change Dave, change Dave. And then until one day the Holy Spirit said to her, no, change that prayer. God, change me. That you need to change. And I said, but it's him. And God said, no. Let's talk about you.
You.
And then she said, the moment she started focusing on herself, looking inward, she realized that, okay, I actually need help now.
Yeah.
I'm the one that is the problem. And I said, and that was the stage I was in my marriage. I used to pray, Lord, change Wale, change Wale. Wale needs to change. God, I'm a very nice person. Wale is not such a bad boy, Until God started saying, no, auntie, let's look at yourself. And I was like, what?
Oh, wow.
I remember shortly after that I started looking inward and looking at the things I was doing, perhaps to upset him, that making him do whatever he was doing to upset me more. And I think he actually said, what has changed? You've changed. And that was the beginning of me learning about being less absorbed in a marriage.
Wow,
and
that's valuable.
And the second thing I want to say is marriage is hard work, I would say. And a number of people think marriage just happened. No, it doesn't just happen. And it's a lot of work, it's a lot of prayer, a lot of investment, a lot of understanding, copious forgiveness. And those are hard work. These are things that are difficult sometimes to do. And you cannot do marriage well without the help, if you're a Christian, without the help of the Holy Spirit. So I depend a lot on the Holy Spirit personally. And I've seen the help of the Holy Spirit because He helped me to understand my husband more. He helped me to know how to talk, to dive to myself. Me, I want to do things myself. I've planned my life. I don't want anybody stressing me. The Holy Spirit said, Auntie, stop there.
Stop there.
You need to do it this way. Otherwise, to the minutest, in fact, Wale said, I know how the Holy Spirit is helped me to press his mumu button. in that sense, that if we are trying to talk about something and he says, no, and I know in my heart of heart that this is a good thing. I just say, okay, it's fine. And I just go and pray. And more often than not, he will come back and say, actually, I've been thinking about that thing. Maybe we should do it. And I'll be like, thank you, Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit say, if you have done it your way,
you get it.
So it's always so vital. If you have a Christian marriage, depend on the person that knows the best.
The Holy Spirit.
Just to add to what you've said, I was having a conversation with my pastor, and we said a good marriage is 90% being a good Christian.
Exactly.
A good marriage is 90% being a good Christian. What are the values of Christianity? Love, forgiveness, long-suffering, understanding, doing loving others as you love yourself.
Yeah.
If you are a good Christian and you embrace your Christian values, it will translate into your marriage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. If you're a good Christian, it will translate into your marriage. And depend on the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely.
The Holy Spirit is your friend. I agree with that 100% because I remember with me too, I would say, before I speak to my husband, because I used to be like, I'm just going to, just like you, I'm going to say it exactly how I feel, he has to hear it. And then the Holy Spirit was like, okay, go on.
See what happens.
See what happens. And then I learned that it was better to say, Holy Spirit, please, teach me what to say. Tell me how to say it, and so that and help him to hear it the way that he's supposed to hear it, And with that mindset, things have, have
tell
worked.
you.
And I think that's
That's
just
the secret. I
that's
want
the
to leave with
secret. That's the
everybody.
secret sauce to marriage, to a happy
Absolutely.
marriage.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much. Oh my God. I wish we could just keep going, but I'm sure I'm going to have you back again soon. I hope you'll be able to come
Oh,
back again
I'm
soon.
sure we
Thank
will.
you
No
so,
problem at
so
all.
much. It's been a real pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And
This has been good
so-
fun. Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
it's
for
been good
having
fun.
us.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you. I'm glad you've enjoyed it too.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you
have.
so much. Thank you. Thank you all for listening in to Navigating the Chapters of Challenge with Tele. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it. Let everybody know about it. Help us by spreading the word. Spread the word. And hopefully we'll have you again on Navigating the Chapters of Challenge with Tele. Until then, take care and God bless you all.